officially been 1 year since I moved all the way from Oakland, California to New York, and it has been a very interesting, uplifting, dramatic, trying, I don't know how you want to describe it, last 12 months. I was dealing with a lot of family drama that I chose to leave behind, which I mean, it's still going on, but I mean, I don't have to be that much a part of it anymore. I've had jobs, I've quit jobs, I almost got in a fight with a roommate, I moved into my own spot, which is really the highlight of my whole entire year. I left my dog back home and I miss him so much. Like, y'all, that is my baby, that is my child. I miss him so I still had ups and downs dealing with emotional stress, anxiety, depression. I'm this close to launching my next business. It's supposed to launch in hopefully it goes as planned, but you never know, fingers crossed, so look out for that. And you guys have been asking me about this non-stop, about how to move to New York, how to save your money, create multiple sources of income, how to start a business, and what it's like just being in New York in general. Trust me, you guys are not being ignored. I wanted to save that for this video, my little 1 year anniversary. So I'm gonna share with you guys some tips on moving out, moving to New York, finding an apartment, living on your own, growing and managing your finances, specifically for those of you who are trying to move out of wherever you are now. Some of these you may have heard of, some of them might be new to you. Regardless, I hope you find these to be extremely helpful. Let's start with talking about growing and managing your finances before your move, because you have to be prepared before you move to a place like New York. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that you have to be good in every aspect of your life, but if you're in a position where you don't have any like extreme financial responsibilities and you have the ability to take your time and prepare yourself and to build up your savings, do that. You know, like, prepare yourself. Things don't always go according to plan, but it never hurts to actually have a plan. Once you make that decision and tell yourself that you're gonna move to a different place, almost everything you do after that needs to support that decision. For me, early 2016, around the same time that I decided to leave school, was when I told myself that I was gonna move out and move to New York. Everything after that was all about making this move a reality. My summers were pretty much always dedicated to like chilling, having fun, and hanging out with friends. I've always had a job. I've had a job every summer since I was like 14, but it completely changed once I made that decision. I was low-key AWOL. I was picking up all the shifts and subbing for people who didn't want to work that shift, because at my job, like, everyone wanted to get paid but no one wanted to do work. So I was like, oh, you don't want to work this shift? I'll take it, I'll take it. If my friends wanted to see me, they had to come to me and come and see me, and then I'll be like, all right, 2 a.m, y'all gotta bounce, I got work in 5 hours. And occasionally they would snatch me and drag me out of the house, but for the most part, my 2016, especially the summertime, was strictly dedicated to stacking up that bread and getting out of there. Work hard, play hard, grind first, party later, whatever phrase you need to use to keep you on track, use it. And really what it's about is preparation. You guys may or may not remember, but last year I posted a video talking about how excited I was to go to VidCon, starting my own business, and moving out. And in that video, I actually said that I was planning on moving out in January of 2017, and I ended up moving out August 2016. And that wasn't a rushed decision. It was definitely way ahead of schedule. That's like 5 months or something like that, but I was prepared enough that I was able to make that move. And emotionally, like, I'd been ready. Like, I could have been out, but I was like, no, let me stack this bread, let me prepare myself. And sorry, anyway. The next thing I want to say is that income is just as important as saving. Like, obviously on the surface we're like, duh, income is super important, but I feel like we put so much emphasis on the saving aspect that we don't pay as much attention, or as much attention as we should, on the income. Like, I remember when I was back at home thinking about this move, and I would look up on YouTube like, what you need to know before you move to New York, and just about every single video was like, you need to save your money, save, save, save. And yeah, that's true, but nobody was talking about, okay, and make sure you have all these other sources of income, or else those savings are gonna be gone like that. My 2016, like I said, was completely dedicated to saving up for my move. Those savings just from 2016, not anything I had prior, was dedicated to the move. Not to surviving and sustaining myself in New York, but actually making the move and getting settled within those first few weeks before I even start to think about relying on other sources of income. I wanted my savings to be able to, like, make sure all my shit is together and settled. And there's so many more expenses to moving to a new place than just a plane ticket and rent. And so I wanted all those savings that I saved on top of my savings to cover that alone. So you have your plane ticket, you also might be checking extra baggage, which will probably cost you money depending on how far you live and how you're gonna travel. You're probably gonna ship stuff. For me, I shipped stuff from California to New York. That wasn't cheap. You wanna have first and last month's rent and a deposit. Not all places are gonna ask for that. Fortunately for me, they didn't ask for that, but prepare yourself just in case. So that was extra money that could go back into my regular savings or to be splurged a little bit. There's also transportation, and I'm not talking just your regular day-to-day transportation, but you're probably gonna be on and off the subway and the buses a lot when you first get there, like to do your apartment searching. Like when I first got there, that first week, I was all over Brooklyn. There's also food expenses, like you're probably gonna be eating out a lot and ordering a lot your first couple of weeks of being there. That adds up. Like that's more expensive than buying a month's worth of groceries, real talk. And then on top of that, when you actually move into your place, there's all these other expenses that you don't think of ahead of time, like toiletries and cleaning stuff, kitchen stuff, sheets, towels, if you didn't pack that ahead of time. We never think about that stuff, and those aren't necessarily expensive things, but they all add up. So if you can save up specifically for your move, try to save up so that all of those expenses are covered, so that once you get there, you're not dipping into your savings and asked out like, damn, where did all my money go? And another tip to go along with the whole income thing, if you have multiple sources of income, which you should have, try to make one of those match your most expensive expense, if that makes sense. That rhymed. For example, let's say you have two sources of income. One is a regular day job and the other is something online that you created. And let's say your most expensive thing that you pay for is rent. You want one of those sources of income to be able to cover that entire expense. This honestly makes budgeting a lot easier. It's easier to figure out what you do and don't have money for, and it also helps you figure out where you need to grow financially. So it doesn't have to be the entire thing, but if it can cover the majority of whatever your most expensive thing is, and then you have other sources of income, you're almost always gonna be okay. Obviously, you still gotta, you know, work some shit, but for the most part, you're always gonna be okay. And overall, just remember your budget should not be based on your savings, it should be based on your income. And the last tip I have for growing and managing your finances before your move, and this might sound really weird and doesn't connect, but hold on. If you are planning on doing some type of life change, whether it's where/how you shop, what you eat, the way you work out, or where you work out, all of that affects your expenses. Try to do that before you move into a new place. And I know you're probably like what does that have to do with money and moving? Trust me, trying to make multiple life adjustments all at once is extremely overwhelming, and if you're trying to transition, it's better to try to get into the habit of doing whatever it is that you're trying to change about yourself and your life before you make that move, because trying to adjust all at the same time really it's too much. Some of you are probably still thinking like, that doesn't even make any sense. What does this have to do? In my head, it makes perfect sense, and I know it helped me. So if you are catching the connection here, go for it. Now, all of my tips are based on my personal experience in New York. Do not try to live on your own right away. If you are just so financially stable and you feel like it's the right move and you can handle it, go for it. But I honestly would not recommend anybody to move to New York and right away get a spot to themselves. Personally, I feel like the whole roommate situation is a part of the New York experience. It definitely helps your transition more. It helps your finances, obviously. And although it may not always be the most pleasant experience, you learn a lot about yourself. It definitely feels different than having a roommate in college. Like, it really is an experience that I do recommend people to have, even if it's just for a few months. When it comes to apartment searching, you need to make sure you're asking the right questions. You can't just simply stop at what's the rent, what's the lease agreement. You need to go beyond. You need to ask if they have pets, if they allow pets, if you have a pet, if they're smokers, what their policy on is with overnight guests or if they have overnight guests. You want to know their cleaning habits ahead of time. You need to know what the closest train is. You need to make sure you're asking the right questions and do your research. In many cases, you can look online what the average rent is for certain neighborhoods, so you want to make sure you're not being overcharged for stuff. If you see that the rent should be $700 for a room and they're trying to charge you $1,000, you might just need to find another place because people will try to get over on you out here. Also, for your first place, maybe even your few places after that, you need to not be super picky. I was accused of being picky, but it wasn't that I was being picky. I just know what I needed out of a whole roommate situation. Like, I know what my wants were, but I know what my needs were. So literally, before you start your apartment search, take a piece of paper, make a list of the things that you absolutely have to have, things that you absolutely can't tolerate, and then put, I guess, a column in the middle of what you don't really care about. So for me, I absolutely had to have my own room. I was not sharing with anybody at all. I couldn't live, ouch. Just know exactly what it is that you want, because you don't want to go out blindly looking at places, not really knowing what to expect, what you want, what you need. And definitely it will narrow down your search, which is good and bad. Like, it's bad because it's like, okay, I'm putting myself in a box, but on the other hand, trust me, I spent a whole week before I actually found a place, which I think I did pretty good. But a week of non-stop traveling all the way through Brooklyn is extremely exhausting. And there were places that I saw that I was like, okay, I didn't really need to come here. I could tell I'm not about to be here. So you definitely want to figure out ahead of time what exactly it is that you want, but don't be too picky. Like, don't expect a huge room in your own bathroom for like $800. Like, you gotta be realistic. Search ahead of time what the price range should be for certain things, and, you know, just do your research. All of this, you don't have to actually be in New York to search on Craigslist how much rooms typically are and what amenities they have. Like, do your research. It really makes this whole process much easier. Now, this is something that I was told ahead of time, but once I actually got there, I saw why it was so important. If you can, try not to sign a year lease. A lot of places, especially newly renovated places, will try to make you sign a lease for a whole year. From my personal experience, as well as a lot of people who I've talked to who live out here, who aren't from here, have never stayed at their first place for more than 6 months or for a whole year. A lot of times it's more of a transitional thing before you move into a better roommate situation, or maybe even move out on your own, like in my case. I was on a month-to-month situation, which is so bomb. If you can find a month-to-month or a sublet type of situation, it is so clutch, trust me. But yeah, just try to avoid the extra stresses and dramas if you can. New York has definitely been good to me. I'm happy that I made this move. To be honest, I feel like I would have been happy moving just about anywhere because I just didn't want to be where I was, even though I really do miss Oakland. But I'm definitely happy that I made this move. I think I just overall have grown a lot. I'm experiencing myself in a very different way. You know, I've never lived by myself. Once you're on your own, you really learn a lot more about yourself in a different way. You see yourself in a different light. You come face to face with your personal issues. You know, everyone has issues. When you're living with someone, whether it's your family or a spouse or a friend, you can find ways to avoid dealing with certain issues because you always have a distraction. You always have someone to have a conversation with. I'm definitely dealing with myself in a very different way. I'm learning a lot more about myself. It's something that I would encourage everyone to do at some point in their life, is to live on their own, but only when you're ready, because, you know, it's not the cheapest thing, but it's definitely possible if you work your ass off and plan it out in the right way. But also what I want you guys to take away, and this is something that I want to say specifically to the people who have reached out to me telling me that they want to move to New York, is don't think that you need to move somewhere else to be great at whatever it is that you do, or to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. Like, yeah, certain places are better for accomplishing different things. Like, if you want to be a model or an actor, yeah, LA or New York is like the place to be. But don't wait until you move to New York to try to achieve those things. Work your ass off where you are, use the resources that you have, and seriously, just try to be the best that you can be with what you already have, and then work to being great in another place. You get what I'm saying? And also stay loyal to your vision. Once you move out and you're on your own, you pick up a lot of different responsibilities, and it can kind of take away from the reason you moved or whatever your main thing is. So definitely keep in mind the why for everything that you do. You know what I'm saying? So just stay loyal to yourself, stay loyal to your vision, and do what you gotta do, work your ass off, and I hope it works out for you guys. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. My DMs are open on Instagram. I never check my DMs on Twitter, so sorry if you message me on Twitter. It's so hard to get around to all my stuff on Instagram, but I try to do it more. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely hit me up, leave your thoughts below, and make sure you subscribe. Like, hit that button. The mantra, the YouTube mantra. Like, comments. Okay, bye you guys.